What's going on, Rush Nation and Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of New York Giants Rush, where we are live 50 weeks out of the year, as Craig likes to say. So, no Craig tonight. Joker's hosting the show. And first, I want to give a shout out to my nephew who got me this hat you see tonight for my birthday a couple weeks ago. So, Troy, thank you, man. Told you I'd wear it, so I'm wearing it. Got a fun show. We're going to talk a little draft. Going to talk some smoke screens that have been out there today. I got Nails, Chris Carb, and I got the Truth with me tonight. So, Chris, come on in, man.
No Coach Steve Austin. He is the man. Well, the Cats are toughen up is over here, giving themselves a beer bath.
What's going on, man? How we doing?
Hey, all right, man. How's it going?
Good, man. I love that intro for you, man. Love that intro. It's always great. A little stone cold.
Yeah, that's it. And I know we missed the Joker, and Zach, we missed it. So if you want to punch up Joker.
Fireworks. There won't be any fireworks. And here we go.
Listen, there's going to be fireworks with me hosting and no Craig. So, yeah, there'll be fireworks tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, speaking of Stone Cold real quick before we bring Truth in, he got in a little trouble last night. He drove that ATV into the barrier at WrestleMania. So I think some woman got injured. He was a little drunk driving last night, apparently, at WrestleMania. It's funny, but not funny. Nobody got serious injured, but he tried to stop and he hit the barricade. So poor Stone Cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's bring in the Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
What's going on, Truth?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, are you in like a cold weather state or something? You're like all bundled up for the winter or something over there, my man.
No, I'm in a lounging chair, leaning back, relaxing.
Oh,
I'm in a different location this week than I have been.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see the piano, so I figured you were in a different location.
Yeah, Truth. What did it dip to, like 57 degrees? You got the windbreaker on?
Oh, there you go. It's short sleeve. I see. It's like
Nice.
3/4 length.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I feel a little better there, poor guy.
I just got done playing golf, so.
Nice. How'd you shoot?
I did pretty well today.
All right, good. Well, listen, Craig's not here, so that means you're going to have to disagree with me tonight, which I know isn't a problem because, we got to have somebody with back and forth. So, and it's nice because I'm actually the youngest guy in the show. So thanks, guys.
Really? How old are you, by the way?
I just turned 51 a couple weeks ago.
And Chris, you're what? 50 what?
53.
53. Okay.
53. Yep.
So
The old crew tonight.
Exactly.
And how old is Craig now? What's his age?
I think he's 54. He graduated. We played football against each other, so he was a year ahead of me. Yeah.
Who got the battle between you two?
I don't remember it because I didn't know him, but I was he might be 2 years ahead of me. I think he graduated 88. So I might have been a sophomore. He was a senior. So I don't even know. Yeah.
Did he have that hair back then?
I was probably special teams as a sophomore. I probably didn't get much playing as a sophomore.
Yeah, he had a lot less gray in that hair back then.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yep.
You don't lose that head of hair.
No doubt.
Awesome. Well, we got some good stuff to talk about here tonight, guys. And, in the chat, we'll get the chat going as well. But I know we're going to talk a little draft. There were some words coming out. Today's that Monday before the draft where all the reporters come out with their information and saying what they know. And, I mean, let's be realistic. Nobody knows anything. There he is. Yeah. That's what happened.
Oh.
Zach on top of it. Yes.
Oh, my God.
He misjudged the brakes for sure. Yeah, that was a bump right there.
He took a page out of Xavier McKinney on vacation.
Right. Bringing that back. So, woo. But yeah, so we're gonna talk a little draft, little reporter stories going on today. I saw some things. Got and whatever else kind of comes up. But we're a couple days away. And a reminder, everybody, that New York Giants Rush Fan Appreciation Thursday and Friday. Make sure you're there. If you don't come on live, make sure you're watching as well with that because it should be interesting. And listen, that number 3 pick, I'm sure it'll get reactions from anybody that's on that night. So without further ado, let's talk a little draft here. So Well, Chris, I'll let you go first on this one. So, tell me who you think the Giants are gonna go at 3. Who's your guy, and tell me a little bit about your guy.
I think the Giants go Abdul Carter. I think he will be available. I'm getting the feeling the Browns, from everything you're hearing from their reporters, that it will be Travis Hunter. My
Okay.
guy to talk tonight is Travis Hunter. I think it'll be one of the two if it wasn't Carter. However, looking at Travis Hunter, I mean, listen, he's a hell of an athlete. He's going to play both sides of the ball. What I think with Travis Hunter, because he's such an elite athlete, I call it GPS. It's going to be a game plan situation with him.
Look at this guy.
And what I mean by that is, I think as the coaches, you give him a number of snaps you want to use him at. I forget the percentages. How many snaps do you want to utilize him in a game? Let's say it's 100. And I want to say it's game plan specific, meaning each week, depending on the game plan, that's where maybe you want to lean him depending on the matchups, right? So to utilize him to his full potential, maybe not 100% as a receiver, but maybe for that first, for one of the games, the game plan will call for him to play a little more defense, could call for a little more offense. And I think that way you're limiting the you have a snap count for him, but then you're also utilizing him in the game plan, depending on how you want to use him. Almost like a Belichick, right? He'll game plan week to week. 1 week he'll run, 60 times and hardly throw the ball. We've seen that, and then the other week he'll flip it. So I think with Hunter, you might be able to do the same thing. The question is the being in the meeting rooms and getting the amount of knowledge he needs to soak up on both sides of the ball. Maybe that has to be curtailed a little bit to him, because he's going to miss a little bit of both. But I think utilizing his talents, making it a little more game plan specific, catering towards that opponent for that week. But listen, I think it's one of the two, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and either one I guess I'd be happy with.
Okay. So, Truth, I'm going to let you respond in a minute about what Chris said there on both sides. But here's my feeling, and that people may disagree, but if you're going to do that with him, I think he's going to miss some defensive meetings, because I think that's where you can get away with missing meetings, is on the defensive side. Not to say defense is less important, but if he's playing corner, if he's playing zone, like, there's not too many variations kind of that you can miss, where the offense, I think he's going to need to be more in there. It's interesting because, Belichick used to use Troy Brown later in his career on both sides. So it's interesting. And there is a guy, I do believe Hunter can do that. Now, it's not going to be 100% like he did in college, but again, he did something in college that nobody else did. So there's no doubt in my mind people are going to use him on both sides of the ball, and more than what people think.
Yeah, and I'm sure maybe you guys agree. Listen, receivers get paid, right? I would think he'd want to have a shot at playing mostly receiver, and that's where he's going to make more of an impact as a receiver probably than a corner. But I think you have those packages in those nickel dime situations, 2-minute, where you need him on the field for those, those drives coming down the field where the opponent's throwing the ball.
We need to really pay attention to what he's announced as on draft night, because that's going to tell you a lot right there. So when that card gets put in, that's going to do. So, Truth, let me give you a chance to kind of respond to what Chris said about both sides. I know you reacted there, so tell me what you're thinking.
Well, Chris threw out a number here. It said 100 snaps. I cannot see that happening. I could see maybe a game where he has a lot of snaps, but usually in a football game, there's about 60 to 70 snaps on either side if you're offense and defense. And I just find it very hard that he can sustain that kind of. And I know he did it in college, but the NFL is a different beast. He's going to be going against bigger, stronger, faster men, not boys, in the NFL. And no one has mentioned. They mentioned which side he'll play more. Why can't he play both evenly? Why can't he play, let's just say 35 snaps corner, 30 snaps, 35 snaps, or 30 snaps wide receiver? Why can't he play to total 65 or something like that, 60 to 70? Why can't he play equally? Is it doable? Or he has to play one position more?
I think it's doable like that, depending on how many snaps you want to give him. But I also think I like Chris's point of where it could be depending on game plan. Like if you got a team that maybe you need him more on offense, you're going to play more on offense, a little bit of defense, or vice versa. Where there's another team where you need that extra defensive help, I think that's there. But I don't see why it can be even. It's just a matter of how many snaps they want to give him. I know Shane came out and said that like hey, we're not afraid to use him on both sides of the ball, and I believe that. So,
Well, they should. They should.
And guys, what about the other variable? Let's say Banks goes down. It's a tight game. You had really no intention of playing Hunter as a corner for that game that much. You really wanted him on the offense side of the ball. But now it's a tight game. All hands on deck. Now, do you pivot and Hunter's now your corner behind Banks and you're telling Flott, no, you're putting Hunter in a tight game. So that's the other thing to look at with an injury. Right? Maybe they feel like they'd rather have in there. Now everything kind of gets flipped upside down at that point, and you're playing him a little less at receiver because they need him on the other side of the ball.
Yeah,
and I think,
and I think,
but he might be over 100 snaps, right? He could go well over 100 snaps then at that point.
He could. It all depends on what he thinks he can handle. Again,
Right.
He's not going to play whatever he played in college, but I do think because of the way the roster is set up is that you can make that maneuver. You can adjust what you need to do with him because he's going to be an added piece for both sides. He's not the piece, if that makes sense. Right. So you can utilize him in that way. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. I think there's a part of me that feels like if Hunter is there at 3, they're going to go him and then try to trade up to get Shedeur. I just feel like they want to get them both together. There's just something that says they want to get them both together, but what's that? So, all right, Truth, I know you were going to talk about maybe a surprise guy. Who's your guy you're talking about here tonight?
Well, I got Will Campbell on just a brief rundown on him. But before I get into that, I'm leaning towards them going Carter. That's who I want. I mean, I just think. Listen, I don't know if you call me old school in that. I mean, we're all kind of the same era. I'm a little bit older than you guys, but I always was taught, you build a good team from inside out, and you got to build the trenches. And Carter can be certainly a good starting point for that with him. And I'm not worried about him playing and Thibodeau playing. And you find a way to put these guys on the field. That's Bowen's job,
right?
You got to do that. The Giants were able to do that when they had a wealth of edge rushers and pass rushers back when the 2 Super Bowl era. So it could be done.
Yep. So, talk about your guy Will Campbell then, Truth.
Okay. Well, Will Campbell. I looked at many mock drafts, saw a lot of scouting reports on him. I did review him when we did the offensive lineman in our show. He seems to be the consensus of being the first offensive lineman off the board. Now, there are some that have other guys going before him, like the guy out of Missouri, Ahmad Membu. But I think because Campbell does play left tackle, I think he will be the first off the tackle lineman off the board. He's got good size, right? 6'6", 319. He's got good footwork. He's very athletic. Which helps him out with his with pass rushers. I like the way. I watched some tape on him, and I like how he was able to get the second level in blocking. He's athletic enough to get to the second level and to get to the linebackers, even corners,
right.
which I like. And he can pull, which I saw in a few plays with LSU. Which is nice to see a tackle pulling. So he's a good athlete. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I think I heard this somewhere, and maybe you guys know, he played a different position coming out. Wasn't he like a tight end or something when he was a little small and he got bigger to grow into the tackle?
So yeah, I think it was tight end, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah. So right. He's got that athletic ability, and he should be able to transition into the NFL. He probably needs to get a little stronger, which he will when he gets into the programs, weightlifting programs at NFL. And he's still young, so he'll get bigger, thicker. So I like him, and I think he is going to be. I think he is going to be the first lineman off the board, offensive lineman this year.
Yeah, there was reports coming out today about the Patriots might be interested in him as well at that forefront, which again, it's smokescreen week. So, I don't take it for what it is. Right. No, it's a good breakdown there. So, all right. So my couple things I'm going to say with, first thing at number 3 pick, whether it's Hunter, Shedeur, or it's Carter, I'm going to be happy. Like, I'm not going to be disappointed. Right. So I'm good to go. I'm going to talk about Shedeur to nobody's surprise. But I lean Shedeur for the simple fact that our offense was so bad, like so bad. Like, we really do need a quarterback of the future. And I like, defensively, and I get what Carter is. So again, if he's the pick, no problem. But there are some other very good edge guys and D-line in that. So I do think we can build the trenches other ways too if we do miss out on Carter. There is a part of me that still thinks the Browns are going to go after Carter. It just makes too much sense to put him, Garrett together, and I think that's what I think there. But as far as Shedeur, like, a couple things I'm going to talk about. Number one, like, if anybody saw the video that was out there of his private workout with Daboll, he had a lot more zip on his throws than people realize. So I think the arm strength is completely blown out of proportion, that he doesn't have a strong arm. Is it a cannon for an arm? No, absolutely not. But he can make all the throws, and there's more zip, and it comes out of his hands quick, which I like. I'm really going to focus on his intangibles, though, because he's a pocket passer. He's really good in there. But his intangibles, his leadership, the fact that, again, he does things a little differently, and I know he called out his linemen in the past, but the thing to me is every single one of those linemen responded the very next game, and they blocked even better. And he has not had one teammate, whether it's in Jackson State or Colorado, that has not played hard for that dude. Like, nobody has ever quit on that guy, and that says a lot. The other things that I like is he doesn't get in any trouble at all whatsoever. Like, he's raised right. And that's the thing that to me also gets overlooked. So I think, like, he's very smart. He's got a good football mind. Those are things that are very important. And I do think he does love football. I know that can be questioned at times, but you can't be the son of a Hall of Famer, be as successful as you are, and not love the game. Like, you have to do it. So I just think he would be our quarterback of the future, and I think he'd rally the team. And when you put him with Malik and Wandale and Tracy and those other young guys, that's who they're going to follow, especially learning under Russ for a year. So that's what I think of Shedeur. But again, listen, I know the defensive talk that's out there, but man, we were 32nd in the league, and we did add some nice additions in free agency. So I'd lean towards Shedeur at 3. But it is hard not to like Carter. Listen, again, we're all around the same age, so we know. We had Banks and Taylor and all those guys. I mean, clearly, he's right behind me, right? So it's easy to go after a linebacker, no doubt about it. But our offense has just been so bad, guys. Like, it's been really bad. Like, it'd be nice to have that guy back there. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, Sean and Mike, when you think of Daboll, more so even than Shane, it's like self-preservation. I think when you talk about an immediate impact, Russell Wilson's going to start, for all intents and purposes, going to start the season. So we may not even see Shedeur until the Giants, if they got off to a bad start and they're 3-7, and then at that point you play the rookie. So I think the way this is lining up for Daboll, the reason why I'm leaning toward a Carter 1 and then a Hunter if Carter's chosen by the Browns is that an immediate impact. Daboll needs wins to save his job, and I think Shedeur sitting on the sideline starting the season is not helping his cause. When you have 2 players that could immediately play it right away and give you something. And it could be a big something. So, that's the main reason why, like a lot of people, I'm leaning towards, well, in my opinion, leaning towards Carter or Hunter, because Daboll needs wins. He needs wins.
So basically, the best player available. That's what you're saying.
Best player available. And by, from what we've heard, I mean, Carter, right? It is Carter, Hunter, and then Shedeur, right? It's probably in that order. It
depends who you hear it from. We don't know. We really don't know, right? We don't know who they really like.
Well, what do you guys think? In what order would you put those 3?
Well, personally, I'm a defensive guy, so I know Carter. Here's a kid who has 1 year experience as an edge rusher, and he was dominant. I just think he's got a high ceiling. I think we haven't seen the best of him yet. And I know Hunter, what he did in college, like Sean says, man, it was phenomenal what he did. I mean, it was almost like inhuman, like not human what he did. at that level to play those many snaps. I mean, we all played sports, all of us, and it's the conditioning that he must have. He's a very high and well-conditioned athlete to do what he did. It was incredible. It is.
Yeah.
But we don't know. We don't know if how much they like Shedeur. They went to another tryout. Was that because they weren't sure, that they wanted to make sure, or they were convinced? I hear there's mixed reviews. Like some people like him, some people don't. In the Giants hierarchy, And
well, don't forget he had his own pro day. So at his own pro day, you can't get him really maybe alone and do chalkboard work. So I think on that visit, they did a lot of classroom work, I'm sure, to really see, hey, we know what you did at Colorado, but this is what we're going to be doing, and maybe testing that way.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the way the schedules worked out because his pro day, and Shane came out and said, like, and he's right. Guys don't want to get injured before their pro days, so they're not going to do private workouts. So they also had Shedeur, they had Chuck, and they had Milroe doing private workouts as well around that same time. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting there. The thing I'll say too is it's really when you go back, like they were at a lot of Colorado games. Somebody from the Giants was at almost every home game, I believe. And then Brandon Brown was at a couple of practices. Now, to your point, when the reports are coming out that the hierarchy, there's no doubt in my mind, and nobody can convince me otherwise, that Mara is the center. Like when they talk about people on different sides, Mara has to be convinced that Sanders can be the pick. I believe that Shane and Dable are on the same page when it comes to Shedeur. I don't think Mara is. I think he's an optics guy, right? We can all agree on that. Mm-hmm. The optics that come with Shedeur in Mara's minds are probably concerning, and that's the problem, and that's the issue with Mara is he's more concerned about optics. So to me, that's what that is. Like Mara has to be convinced because you've seen Chris Mara has been more involved. So that also tells me that John is going to be more involved with this draft with the number 3 pick. So that's my feeling. And again, nobody can convince me otherwise. Sorry, guys.
Chris Mara is a player evaluator as well. But Chris Mara is a very good player evaluator. So yes. I mean, I will give Chris, so I think I think that's I'd rather have him evaluate than John.
I absolutely agree. I think that's good that he's out there. But again, I think when these reports are coming out that they're split in the building, I think it's because Shane and Daboll are in on Shedeur and John's not. That's my feeling. So, and the other thing that I'll say is, Truth, you brought this up earlier too. Nobody knows anything. For 3 years under this regime, there's been 0 leaks. Nobody can come out and say who they like, who they don't like. Like Thomas Shea came out today and said that, Shedeur is not a Daboll guy. You don't know anything. You don't. Right. Nobody's telling you anything, right? The only people that know are Dable and Shane, really, right? And maybe McDonald and maybe Chris Mara, but even that,
the inner circle guys,
yeah. But that's about it. So, that kind of leads into what we're going to talk about next with some of these kind of smoke screens. Did you guys kind of see some of the stuff that was put out there today and about trading back up and maybe getting Milroe or Dart up there?
I saw that most of the trade back up from into the first round.
Yeah.
But once again, where does that come from? Because it's so tight-lipped. This is like throwing stuff at a wall. It's just scenarios to me. It's even like the mocks at this point. It's just a matter of getting through the next few days and just throwing mocks. It's like, all right, what can we fill? It's filler. All right, how much can we fill in before Thursday? They still got to put out content. So let's keep throwing shit at the wall.
And it's coming from Schefter, so it says one of two things I'll talk about in a second. But Truth, go ahead, man.
No. I was you took the words in my mouth. It's like who are the reliable sources now? Adam Schefter is pretty reliable. He has a lot of credibility, So he seems so adamant that the Giants are not going to take Shedeur Sanders, right? Am I right from last news? He's adamant.
That's what's coming out. It seems like he's saying Carter's the pick, which I'll get my thoughts on the second there on that.
Okay. I just think, forget about the number 3 pick. Well, I'm talking about trading back up. Yep. That's going to be, it all depends where they trade up to, how far they have to go up, because that might involve next year's number 1 pick. And that's a tough one for me. You have to really believe in this quarterback, whether it be Sanders. If Sanders slides, let's say they don't pick him at 3, and I don't know where he may go. Let's just say he slides and we're in the teens and he's still on the board. Him, Dart. How far down are you going to go where you might have to give up your first? And would you give up next year's first for any quarterback in this draft?
And you look at Saints at 9, right? Saints now with the whole Carr situation, they're looking at a quarterback.
Yeah, they could take him. You're right. They could take anyone, not just Sanders. How do we know they don't love Dart? How do you know?
Right. Well, I think one of the two is going to land with them.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, which again, I mean, my feeling is this: with that number 1 pick, if you have conviction in that guy, I'm okay if you don't have a number 1 pick. The Rams went 5 years without a first round pick, so I'm fine with that, right? And do what you got to do, right? Especially if you're going to get 2 guys like the Texans did a couple years ago, right? They got Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud. I'm good with that because now you have 2 guys like that. They have enough picks later on. They got 8 picks this year. 2 third rounders. They're in a good spot there. So if you have to give up, even if it's just the number 1 pick or the first round pick for next year, I'm good with that because now you can load up this year. You're fine. You can have whatever you have.
Make sure that's the quarterback.
So you're right. My feeling is this: is that don't rule out a trade with Carolina to get back into that first round, get that 8th spot. I do think going back to the Schefter thing, if that's being put out there, I think that's to get the Browns to take Carter. That's my belief because there's reports coming out on Cleveland Reporters that now Browns are back on Carter, and they were Hunter. So I think Giants are putting out smoke screens to try to manipulate the Browns into taking. I know it's crazy, but I believe that they want to try to get Hunter and Sanders together in this draft and keep them together like they've been together. And I think that Hunter and Sanders to happen too. So my guess would be, Shane's got that good relationship with Morgan down in Carolina, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to finagle, get up an 8 because Jets aren't taking a quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think the Raiders are going to take him either. It makes no sense because Pete Carroll wants Geno. Geno's young enough.
Well, are you saying from 34 to go back down to 8?
I think that could be a real possibility.
Why would Carolina want to go way back? Why would they want to come out of the first round?
Well, because here's the thing: if you get some later draft picks this year, and then you get that first round pick for next year's draft, I think it's gonna have more top end guys. Like this draft from 9, 8, 9 down is gonna be. They're all similar with grades, right? There's really only 2 standouts in this draft, right? It's Carter and Hunter. Those are the two guys. So again, I know it's a little far fetched, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it happening because I don't think you can go. Saints could be a possibility where they take Shador, but again, they have that good relationship, and if you give up a lot, I'm fine. You get a Hunter and a Sanders, I'd be ecstatic. Listen.
But I'll tell you what. If I'm Shador Sanders, I wouldn't mind the Saints. You got a first-year head coach who used to be with Dallas. You're playing in the dome. You're not going to be changing over a new regime. So if I'm Sanders, I'm pretty open to getting picked by the Saints.
Well, here's the thing about the Saints. I put this out the other day. In 50 years, they haven't taken a quarterback in the first or second round.
That's right.
So,
since Archie Manning?
Might have been
Archie Manning was the last one. Yeah, yeah.
Breeze was a long time. Yep, from the Chargers.
Well, exactly. So that's what they do. So again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that is the one scenario where I see a Carolina trade could happen potentially there, depending on where that is. So it'll be interesting, like I said. But the other word that's out there, and I don't know if you guys saw this too, but I want to get your reactions, was Jalen Milroe was on with Kay Adams. He kind of let something slip in a way. He called him the Meadowlands Milroe or something like that. And he kind of paused after he said it. But then it's also out there that Malik is, him and Malik are really close friends. Mm-hmm. So there could be that potential that, Milroe is the guy, later on, because one thing I've noticed so far is that The Giants are listening to Malik Neighbors. So they realize what he is, what he can do. He said he wanted a vet and a rookie. They went out and they tried to get a vet, and they ended up getting a vet. They got 2 vets, right? So, I mean, what do you guys think? Could it be Milroe? What do we think there? And what do we think about the influence that, Malik might have with Daboll? Because I think they're close. Daboll, we saw his reaction on Hard Knocks. So give me your thoughts there.
Okay, Chris, I'll let you go.
Yeah, well, I want to give some props to our good friend John McDevitt over at BBI. He made a great point. If they do go Milroe at 34, you have to look at him almost like a Taysom Hill. He may not come in and be throwing the ball a lot originally. He's going to have to develop, especially under center, which he's not very good. We heard that from Cy going back to the Senior Bowl. Hasn't gotten under center much. But you can utilize him with that body frame and that speed and that athleticism in so many different ways. So, hey, would it surprise me? Maybe a little. But after hearing, a lot of other, content creators and people out there in the know, he could be used immediately in these other areas, which would just create more deception and more opportunity for a guy like him to play. So yeah, not a bad idea.
I see more of like a Cordell Stewart type, which is he was a better version of Taysom Hill in a way. Yeah. But yes, that's a good point. Like the original Slash, back in the day with Cordell. So it's not a bad point while he develops and goes from there. He did also talk about how he put through, and he said he loves football, and the answer he gave to Daboll and Shane, whoever else was there, really impressed those guys too. So there's a lot to like about the kid. There's concerns I have too, but I mean, Truth, what's your thoughts on hearing that?
Well, we interviewed Milroe's coach, high school coach, and he couldn't say, and obviously he couldn't say anything bad about the kid. He made good references about the kid's character, work ethic, leadership. Those are things that you like to hear. The kid would be first in practice, last to leave. We heard that before, I know, with Daniel Jones. But, the kid is the most talented athlete, the best athlete in this draft among quarterbacks. I don't think there's an argument. But, again, like you just mentioned, under center, he's got to learn. And I think they should, if they decide he's the choice, they cannot rush him at all. Let him develop slowly. Spoon feed him if you have to. It's okay. Yep. Let the kid take his time to develop. There's a lot of rumors, and I think the guys from BBI mentioned this, Chris, remember, that Milroe was invited to day 1 of the draft.
Yeah, he was. That's official. Yeah.
Right, that's official. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm pretty shocked that he might be a first-round pick. Not that
the NFL.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just have a funny feeling that, when it comes down to it and these teams are drafting, especially the teams I see in the back end of the draft, I don't know if I think he still might slip to the second round. I think he might slip to the second round. And that's the case. That's like you said, Sean, that's going to be a tough call with him sitting there with the potential he has. And I know that there's going to be a lot of talented guys on the board. And I mentioned last week when I was on the show with Spartan, I think that would depend on who is in the second round, like which guy projected first round pick slipped to round 2. That might be the only way that they don't get Milroe in the round 2.
Yeah. Well, I also think having those 2 third-round picks with where the depth of this draft is makes them a little more likely to do something different in that second-round pick, because even D-line, like they can get that D lineman in the 3rd round with one of those 2 picks. You got to allow running back. What I'm curious about, to kind of go a little different direction quick, is they've been bringing in a lot of running backs. So to me, I'm convinced they're going to take a running back somewhere. Do you guys think they could go running back in the 2nd or 3rd round? Like how high do you think they could go? Truth, I'll ask you first quickly. Do you think they could go 2nd or 3rd round with a running back there?
Yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, it is a deep running back class, and I think you can get a pretty good running back like they did last year in round 5. You probably get one in 4 at 105, 105th pick. You could probably get a good running back. But would I say there's no way they're going to pick a running back in round round 2 or 3? I can't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got some. What if the kid out of North Carolina slips in round 2 and he's sitting here at 34?
Hampton, yeah.
I mean, that would be a hard pass.
It's so deep that it's one of these guys will. It's such a deep class, right? So
Yeah.
chances
Yeah,
are it's
and
going to happen.
Khalid Johnson is a good player. That's another good running back.
That's my wild card that I think they take in the second round if he's there, especially because they hired Liddell Betts, who is his college coach. I think he's a great compliment to Tyrone Tracy, right? So I think that would be my sleeper pick in the second round if he's there. What do you think?
And it wouldn't be a bad pick, Sean.
Yeah.
The guy can play. The guy, what did he run for? Over 1,500 yards, 21 touchdowns. He could run between tackles. He could run around the edge. I mean, the kid is versatile, and he can catch the ball.
Yeah, I think he's a great compliment to Tracy. So, yep. What do you think, Chris?
I think you might be looking at round 3 or 4 if you're taking a running back. I think round 2 it's going to be a defensive tackle, even though they're deep too. I think you really need somebody next to Dexter. Even though
what if they go Carter at 3 though? You still think they're going to take a D tackle if they go Carter at 3?
I would throw a guard in there as well.
Okay.
But I still feel like the depth on that defensive line, especially I anticipate Roaches being cut at some point, and you're going to need.
I think so too.
I think you're going to need help with Dexter. You need a proven guy that can slide right in there.
I had mentioned in the last show that I think the Giants with 8 picks, if they don't trade back and get another pick somewhere, I think 4 of those 8 picks could be in the trenches on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the ball total. I think it's possible.
It could be. It's curious because I do think that third round you can get a really good D tackle in the third round, which is why I think you may go something different in the second round. Again, depending on because it all depends on who's going to slide, right? Like if a Derek Harmon or Walter Nolan somehow slide down to the second round, maybe they. But like that's the thing. I do think that Shane adjusts depending on what the board does, which is good. So, And
I'll tell you what, Sean, if you create that identity with Abdul Carter in round 1 and you get that defensive tackle in round 2, now we're talking about an identity of this defense. Now we're putting a stamp to say the Giants defense is the identity of this team. And I think with the running backs are deep, you can grab. And even if you got let's say you got a running back at 34. Listen, Tracy's going to split carries. You still got Singletary who's going to get in there. So I think to utilize the most of the talent, my opinion, take the defensive tackle at 34.
Could go that way, yeah. Could go that way. I'll tell you though. Can you imagine if Walter Nolan slips at 34? I think it's a no-brainer.
I would say same thing with Derek Harmon. Like I know there's people that have said he's going down to the second round. There, I don't see Derek Harmon making it to the second round.
I don't see neither of them making second round. Yeah. And we talked about. Go ahead.
No, so I'll say this too. Like a lot of these mocks and everything else, like this is what I think people need to remember is the league has a very different view than what these mocks say and these analysts say. It's completely different, right? So like even when it goes to Shedeur, the league is much higher in Shedeur than what these analysts are. There's no doubt about it when you hear what they say and what they talk about. Same thing with these other draft picks. So again, that's my little TED talk for a quick minute. Is
but where do you think they get the information from, Sean? When they make these analyses,
I think it's just what they think, and they're doing their own analysis. I think there's only a couple of people who actually have, like, I think Daniel Jeremiah talks to people, right? Schefter doesn't do a mock until like a couple days before, but some of these other guys, they're talking to low level or whatever. So I think a lot of these guys are getting stuff that are fed to them that teams want them to know to kind of steer other teams away, is my opinion. But I think there's like maybe 2 guys, maybe 3 that have actual talk to scouts and maybe get some good ideas of what people are actually thinking. I think Daniel Jeremiah is one of them because I think he was a former NFL exec. So I think people trust him. Schefter is a guy who gets some information too, but a lot of these people who are doing breakdowns and evaluations, they're not getting it in mocks. They're not getting it, from other people. I think it's just their own, mindset.
And keep this in mind as well. Not that you want Dexter to be a long-term Giant for his career, but in 26 he's going to be up for his contract will be up. So you're going to get 2 seasons with him. So you know how these GMs think. You want to have something on the back end to fill spots in case they need. So
yeah, and me personally, I do feel like they need more on offense than they do on defense. Yes, we know a D tackle is needed, but they added Colston, who I think he's an up and coming riser. We had McFadden on, who said the same thing. Like he noticed how good he was there. He just got he got behind those other guys, right? Like you look at who else Dallas has, he's not going to get a lot of run. I think that's going to change here. So that is one spot that I think is going to be better. But yes, we do need another one. But I again, like maybe they load up on D. Maybe it is because I've said all along that like quarterback was the biggest reason last year. So you added a quarterback. I do think they need another running back. Although Singletary, they didn't get rid of him.
They can. It's I think it's a $5 million cap.
Is that what it is? Okay. All right. So
yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, they re-signed Slayton, so would you take a receiver there? I do think, truth, I do agree with you. They'll probably load up on the trenches. It's going to be interesting. Listen, all I know is I'm ready to see what they do because none of us are going to know. It's going to be a big surprise.
No, it's going to be really fun. I can't wait. Because really, I mean, I guess every year, not everybody's happy. Someone's not going to be happy with that third overall pick. Someone is not going to be happy.
And I look at.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, say it's a copycat league, right? You look at the Eagles. That's what they did. They built both sides of the ball on the trenches. So I feel like the Giants and a lot of these other teams, they're following that same blueprint, going back old school. We're seeing the running back be involved more, right? More carries with the running backs. You saw that with the Eagles. Yep. The more of the trenches now, less of the flash, more of the trenches. And I feel like the league is kind of pivoting a tiny bit, and we're seeing teams build within. And I feel like that's what the Giants, their plan is, if I had to take a guess.
Yeah, and the offseason was about the trenches too, right? They brought in 3D linemen or 4D linemen, whatever it was. Yep, they got depth and not guys that can start, guys that are depth as well. They re-signed that O-line. Bringing back Van Roten was a good one. So I think they get it. Again, I think what's nice about this is that the Giants can go in and do whatever they want. They can let the board play out and do whatever they want. That's what their free agency did, in my opinion, right? Same thing with getting Russell, and Jameis. It allows them not to be forced to have to take a quarterback. They can do what they want, and they can make it good there. So I think the biggest thing is, you're right, Truth. People are going to be upset no matter what. But for me personally, if they get one of those 3 guys at 3, then I'm good. The only thing I'm going to be upset about, and Truth, you probably disagree with this, but if they draft Tyler Shuck or Will Howard, man, I'm going to lose it.
That's not happening. At 3? At 3?
No, anywhere in the draft.
At anywhere
in the draft. Anywhere in the draft. I don't want either of those guys whatsoever. None. Tyler Shuck, not just his age, but he had 1 year of production, and he's been in the college.
I'm not a big fan of Shuck. But I think Will Howard is better than people think. I'll leave it as that.
He might be better than what people think, but that's still not good.
That's why he's not going to be the 3rd or pick at 3 or pick at 34 or pick at 65.
Yeah, I don't even want him in the 5th round because I think there's guys.
He's going to go before round 5. I can tell you that. I think he will.
No, he's going 4th round? Yeah, 4th round maybe. 4th round maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
My guess is 5th round, but I don't want the
Giants.
Giants.
Let me ask you this. You walked right into a perfect segue, Sean.
Perfect. And it's almost like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. All right, listen.
Right?
And this is for you too, Chris. Perfect scenario. Round 1. We want, I think we all know what we want. You say Carter, I say Carter, and Sean says if he has choice would be Sanders, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in round 2, you get 3 picks, 34, 65, and 99. Mm-hmm. What would be you don't have to give me player names, just give me position. What would be your perfect draft on what 3 positions you would take on day 2?
Go ahead, Chris.
Defensive tackle at 34, and we have on day 2 we have 2, right?
Yeah, 65 and 99.
Yeah,
the third,
99, 65, 90. So maybe at 60, I would look guard or running back at 65. I don't know which, depending on the board.
What about 99?
all things being equal, if I took the guard at 65, then maybe I would look running back at 99.
Sean?
So if we go Shedeur at 3, I'm going to go D tackle at 34. At 65, I'm going to look. So I'll say it this way. 34, I'm going to look running back. 65 or 99. One of those is going to be running back for me, I believe, because there's just too much depth there. And then I may double up. I may look at edge or D tackle there again. Maybe an O lineman. But I think you can double up on D tackle there, in my opinion, if you go second and the third. But here's the shocker: is my sleeper would be they take a receiver in that third round.
Okay. Possible, yeah. Possible. You have anybody in mind?
I would look at Jack Beck.
Kid from
TCU.
TCU?
Yep. I think he's a guy that would be there. I think it's good. I don't know if he'll make it to the third round. I mean, he could. He might go second, but if he's there in the third, I could see a guy like that. I would say this. If we go Shedeur at 3, don't be surprised if we take one of his receivers later on too, whether it's Jimmy Horn or LeJohntay
On day
West.
3. On day 3, right?
On day 3. Potentially, yeah, because I think a
Shepard
fourth
and
round.
Horn, right?
What's that?
Shepard and Horn, right? That's who they are? The two guys?
No, I'd go Horn or LeJohntay Wester are the two guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are the two guys I'd look at right there. I like the idea of bringing in a receiver for if you're drafting a rookie quarterback, somebody they worked with before. I like that. So that's kind of my sleeper idea there. But again, like my thing is this, like they're set up to go anything they want. They really are. And all these draft picks, whether it's 3 or whatever else, they can go anything they want and they'll be in good shape.
Okay. So you and Chris are kind of pretty close with your positions on day 2. On day 2. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think 2 out of the 3 picks should be in the trenches. And I don't mind having a running back as one of those 3 picks on day 2. Day 3, we have 4 picks, right? I think we have 4 picks.
3.
No, we have 105, 154, 219, and 246, right?
Well, we have 3 picks on day 3, and we have the first round, so that's 4. So we have 4 picks left to go.
Yeah. Okay. Total is.
When you said 3 picks on day 3, we have 4 picks on day 3.
Do we have 4 picks on day 3?
Wow. Is it Sunday? Okay.
We have 105. We have 154. We have 219 and 246.
Okay. And we have, because I get confused. So is day 2 is rounds?
Day 2 is rounds 2 and 3.
Okay, so we got 3 picks on day 2. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
And I'll tell you right now,
3 picks round 2. Yeah.
Yep. From what I looked at, what I've seen, there's a couple of really good, trench foot guys you can get on day 3. I mean, they're there. The kid from Indiana, CJ West, he won the highest percentiles against the run, 98%. He's there. Big kid, can play nose, can play over at the 3. He's a good player. And he got the kid out of Cincinnati, the lineman, Luke Kendra. He's got what he played 500 something snaps, didn't give up a sack. He could play. They're out there, and that's what you want your scouts to find these guys.
Yeah,
they're out there for day 3.
So here's the thing, and for all Giants fans that are watching this now, is go look at the list of all the 30 visits, and I think it's like 90%, 90 some high number. Like their draft picks are from those 30 visits. So
okay, that's interesting.
Yep. And so in the Shane era, now it's different. We're talking about this regime. So if you look at the 30 visits, I think almost all of their picks, or a high percentage, have come from those 30 visits. So if you want to have a good idea who the Giants are going to go with, look at them 30 visits. And again, you look at the running backs they brought in, all good ones. The guy that I think would be another good addition if you go running back later on, and it pains me to say it because it's Ohio State. But Judkins would be.
Oh, he's a stud. He
absolutely would be another great one, to pair with Tyrone Tracy. So
yeah, where do you think he's going to go? When you said late, you mean like day 3?
I think I think he'll go. I think he's like a 3rd round guy. I think he'll be a 3rd round. I don't think he'll go 4th, well, maybe, but I think 3rd round. I mean, again, like my feeling is this: whatever they do, like there haven't been too many picks that I've been upset with under this regime that they picked. Although I will say that, and Craig's not here, so I can say it. I did not want the Banks pick. I wanted Joey Porter Jr. So I did not like that pick at all, at all. Joey Porter Jr. was the guy they should have taken there, without a doubt. So I hope Banks proves me wrong. I hope he gets better. But yeah, that was the one pick that I can, under this regime, that I was mad about was Banks. Again, because of who was on the board there. But,
so you were definitely at the time happy we got Tibbs and Neal, right, at 5 and 7.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Watching both those guys, I was head over heels that we got both those guys. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Zero doubt, zero hesitation, zero anything. I was like, oh, it's a great draft. But again, I think it had a lot to do with development and not the guys. I think, especially in Neal's case, right? That was a lot about development.
Yeah.
If they do make the switch and move in the guard, I think he's going to be really good. And again, because Brussello is a much better coach.
I hope so.
I do think that both the cornerback coaches we brought on this offseason, Manuel from the Jets and then the guy from the Raging Cajuns there, both those guys I think are going to improve our secondary. That's what I'm really excited about. So I think if we have another solid draft like we had last year, like last year was a very solid draft. Like everybody produced, everybody performed. Even Muasau is a guy that is going to be, I think guys are high, the team is higher on than a lot of other people. So I'm really, again, the only thing that would make me maybe mad would be if they went Mason Graham at 3, like over somebody else, because as much as I like Graham, like I don't think he's not that like much ahead of like other D tackles in the draft.
And it's so deep, the DT tackle.
Right.
It's so deep.
He's not that way. So that's the only thing that would, I mean, make me be like, oh, what are we doing? But I wouldn't be upset either. I guess I could say it that way. Yeah, I would.
Wouldn't that be funny if we heard nothing about Graham and they pick him at 3?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Cole, don't worry, man. Listen, I'm not hating on Graham. I'm just saying, like at 3,
it's too deep at defensive tackle.
Yeah. Not
hey,
not
Chris, pull that second from the bottom. Mark was answering Sean's thing about the guys that Shane picked out of the 30 visits over the last 3 drafts. So he's saying 10 picks over 3 drafts were from the 30 visits.
Is it just the 10?
Wow, I'm shocked. Yeah,
that's 90 visits, 10 picks.
90 players. So that's like 15%.
I thought it was more than that, but I think I think it's the high rounds were from the. There was something. It was a high number. I thought it was more than 10.
Yeah,
Mark knows his information. I'm not down it, but I thought it was a higher number than just 10 out of the over 3 years.
Hey, Sean. Here's another funny one. Chris, second from the bottom. Look what an option here. How would you feel if this guy was picked? Again.
Oh, a piece. Yeah.
Would that piss you off?
I listen. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
Listen, as a former running back, I would not be upset. I know that's weird, but no, I would not be upset with him.
Okay.
But again, depending on who's on the board, yes.
Well, you're going to have one of those 2 on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Listen, Cleveland is the key to what we do at 3. They are the key of what we do at 3. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Even Cleveland is not only in the first round, even a second round, they hold the key because they can easily move up like we can if they want to get a quarterback. They got more picks than the Giants, so they can move up and throw an extra pick in there if they have to.
They do. Go ahead, Chris. You were gonna.
No. I was gonna say with Flacco, back with the Browns. Do you think that signing on his end had anything to do with him possibly getting any indication that they are going to go Hunter to help him out? Or it was just a matter of Flacco just wanting to have a job and play again? Because the Browns released him, which was interesting, and not released him, but didn't re-sign him last year, and now bringing him back. So I'm wondering if the Hunter, Flacco going back there has something to do with him wanting to be back with Cleveland, knowing that maybe or have an indication that they may go Hunter. Because he's going to need some help, right? He has Judy, but I think Hunter and Judy could be a nice receiver.
Yeah, duo. It could be. It could be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Mark just clarified too. So it's 10 out of 24 draft picks. So about 40% were from the visit. So it's still a high number.
Yeah,
which is good. But yeah, I mean, Cleveland again. They may not go like. They could go Tyler Shuck, like they could go a guy like that. Like they could go Jackson Dart, right? Like
later on, yeah.
Or they could not go. They could go much later on. Like I think that team likes Joe Flacco. I know he's old, but they like Joe Flacco. Miles Garrett is a Joe Flacco fan. I know the owner came out and said what he did about Deshaun Watson, but that's a lot of money tied into Deshaun. So yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Flacco is the 1 year holder and they're still haven't gotten up. Like it could, again. That owner, I don't trust what he says. I don't trust it at all. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of get your guys' opinion about is Jordan Renan, who I know we've had on the show here quite a few times, had come out and he said there was one guy who he really trusts and who's been spot on about things. Said that the one guy he asked who has been right on the money a lot is they said Shedeur is definitely the pick at 3. He said another guy said that Shedeur is not the pick at 3. So I'm kind of curious because he did make that distinction of somebody who he trusts and who has been fairly accurate said Shedeur is the pick at 3. I want to get your guys' opinion because again, the amount of time they spent with Shedeur or at Colorado and everything that's kind of out there that is not pointing towards Shedeur. Does that lead you guys to believe that Shedeur is going to be the pick? Because it's everybody's saying Carter. Nobody knew it was going to be Malik last year, right? So do you guys think that there's that possibility that everything that's coming out that doesn't have Shedeur at 3, that Shedeur is going to be the pick?
Chris, I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So 2 things. We said before, everything's been tight-lipped, right? This regime doesn't let any secrets out. So I don't know where the information comes from. Second thing is, I think they are heavily looking in the Shedeur and doing due diligence. They have to, from the chalkboard stuff to the pro days and then doing their own workout afterwards. And I think the caveat in this whole thing was the medicals on Abdul Carter. If the medicals came back from Abdul Carter and the Giants were able to examine him on his pro day and they feel confident, I think that's why we've heard that little surgence of Abdul maybe come back, make that rise. So I think a lot of this circulating around Abdul Carter's medicals and just really doing their due diligence on Shedeur so they don't screw it up and make the mistake. Because if Shedeur goes somewhere else and plays lights out and turns into this perennial Pro Bowler, it's going to look horrible on this regime. So I think they're just making sure they dot their I's, cross their T's.
I mean, with the amount of time they spent with him and watching him, again, I think it's more about the schedule of how it did up because they want to do a private workout because Dable's that. I just don't know what else they could want to know on him. They're not sure. And again, I do think it's more about Mara than it is anything else.
But I think a lot is the classroom stuff because when they're doing their pro days, you're not getting him in the classroom, I don't think. So I think when you're doing your own private workout, now you could really dive into their brain one-on-one, like the 30 visits, and really dissect what's between the ears. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Is he going to be comfortable with Dable wants to run? And is Dable going to feel comfortable allowing him to run his offense?
I mean, he's had 6 different OCs.
No, Chris hit it on the head. Everything he said, I totally agree with him with this. I don't know. I don't think they know exactly who they want right now. They're sitting here thinking, okay, they did like Chris said. They cross the T's, dot the I's with Shedeur. They want to make sure. Because you can't make a mistake. Like if he does happen to go and have phenomenal rookie year, it's going to look bad for them. Absolutely. No matter how well Carter plays or Hunter, whoever they get, if they don't pick him.
Yep. And think about this, Mike, and Sean, he goes to the Saints. He's playing right away. Carr's not playing. He wants to be
That's
traded
true.
and wants surgery.
That's
So he
yeah.
goes to New Orleans. Nice. You know, he's starting right away. Where he goes to the
Yeah.
Giants, it's not gonna happen. Plus, he's got
Yeah,
the wind, he's got the weather. Boy, if I'm
I
Shedeur
just-
Sanders, new regime, I wouldn't mind going to the Saints at that number 18.
Yeah, it could be the best fit for him.
Right.
You're right, Chris. You don't know. You're right. I just think they don't know yet. So it could be one of those, a day of the draft. Just like the show, that movie was Draft Day with Kevin Costner. He may not know what he's going to do. He's
Right.
not sure. You don't know.
Shedeur, no matter what, on his
Yeah,
no
right.
matter what, right.
Yeah.
Again, I think it'll change depending on what Cleveland does. You spend that much time at Colorado, don't feel like they're not looking at Travis Hunter too. Like, right?
Well, yeah.
There is that part of me that says, okay, if Cleveland goes Carter, they're going to draft Hunter at 3, and they're going to try to get Sanders later on too, because you can't get if you pass on Hunter, he's not getting past New England, right? Pass on Shedeur, so maybe trying that. I know there's Giants fans out there say don't play that game, and listen, everybody knows here I've been Shedeur for the longest time. If you can get both those guys though, and you take Hunter at 3 and you trade up and give it up you need, like again, those are the two guys that can make it, in my opinion, can make a big impact on a program. And those are the guys you make trades for, you bring them together because they've turned around programs everywhere they've been. Like those two guys together are just, they're different. They're different. And that's what I see. And I think they would get along with Malik. So you have a young future of Shedeur, Malik, Travis Hunter, Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, man, that's.
Well, you paint such a pretty picture there, Sean.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, right? Like,
but
right?
See, for me, I don't see the talent level that close between a Shedeur Sanders and an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter. I think the talent between them is immense, which is why I just lean towards Carter 1 first and then Hunter instead of Sanders.
Again, so let me ask you this. Let's say it's not Shedeur there, but it's Cam Ward, and you got Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. What are you doing?
Well, I can tell you what the Giants would do. If that was the case, they would take Cam Ward in a heartbeat.
No, I'm asking what you would do.
I like Cam Ward. I liked him ever since he last year played at Washington State. I liked him. I think that would be a tough one for me, but I would take Cam Ward.
So it's interesting. That's interesting because
I think Cam Ward is a better player than Shedeur Sanders.
Right,
all.
but
It's just an
don't
opinion.
no, I get it. But don't you think there's still a big gap between Abdul Carter and Cam Ward?
Not as big as it is between him and Sanders.
Interesting.
I think Carter is the best prospect on the board. Even though Hunter had a phenomenal season, I would give Carter my number 1 and Hunter number 2 if I was rating them. And someone you admire a lot has the same thought process. Daniel Jeremiah has Carter 1, Hunter 2. So
yeah, I did see that, but I also know he's got Cam Ward lower down there too. He's like at 8.
he has him at 10. He has him at 10,
Yeah.
and he has Sanders at 18.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I knew that. So again, I think it's Hunter and Carter, and then everybody else is a huge gap. So and I say that because again, if people want to talk BPA, then why aren't they talking about BPA for Tennessee? Like, why shouldn't Tennessee not take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter? Because those guys head and shoulders.
You're right. Why don't they?
I like Cam. I'm a Cam Ward fan. I liked him in Washington State. I thought going back for years what he needed to do, but I don't think he's anywhere close to Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. So why isn't that conversation happening of Tennessee should go BPA?
I don't know. From what I've read and everything and what I see, it just people seem to believe that Ward has a higher ceiling, and they believe that Sanders might have reached his ceiling. That's what I've read.
But
I don't go to a lot of games. I've only seen these guys on film, like you guys have, and I'm just going by what they say, how they play, and then you just make your opinion and give what you think, But if I had to choose between those two quarterbacks, I choose Ward. That's all. I think
Well, between those two, but you're saying you would choose Cam Ward over Abdul Carter?
Yeah, if I was the Giants, because the Giants do need a quarterback.
No, you. I'm asking you personally.
Yeah, I would. If Well, if I'm the Giants GM, if you're telling me, and I have to look out for the best interest for the New York Giants, and I know I need to get a quarterback, I would take Ward. It would be hard for me to pass on Carter, but I would take Ward.
Okay.
I think what happens at 1-2. I mean, quarterback, you can't roll out Will Levis with that head coach is on the hot seat. You just can't. So
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Even if it's close, and you have Abdul Carter ahead of Ward or Sanders for that matter, I think if it's anywhere close, you got to go with the quarterback. He has to save his job. He can't roll out his coaching life with Will Levis. If it's I think the Giant situation, they got Russell Wilson and Winston, so I think that opens things up and allows more options. Where Tennessee's really kind of put themselves in a corner with Will Levis, they're almost forced to take a quarterback.
Yeah, and here's the one thing I'll say about this draft. There's only one generational player in this draft. There's only one generational player who is generational in college, and that was Travis Hunter. Hands down.
In college.
No debate, nothing. In college, generational. Abdul Carter's not generational. Michael Parsons came out a couple years ago. You're not generational if you're very similar to that guy. I love Abdul Carter. Watched him dominate a game one arm.
You might have him, would you? Would you mind having a Michael Parsons?
I would not mind having. Listen, I'm still mad at Gettleman and John Mara for not taking.
Me too.
For not taking Parsons, but I also don't want to make sure that we thought there would never be another Micah Parsons. There could be another Abdul Carter. There could be the guys that are there. So really, the question comes down to is, okay, are we viewing Carter because we missed out on Parsons, and is that what it is? Like, hey, you can't pass up on Carter because we're getting a second chance on a Micah Parsons,
well,
right? Like
that's a good point.
That's what you know what I'm saying. Like
that's a good point.
Is that the way to go about it?
But when you hear the comparisons to Von Miller, the dip and rip, how he can go sideline to sideline, he has played in hands in the dirt and off ball. So, I mean, when you hear comparisons to Von Miller, plus wearing the 11 at Penn State and being compared to Parsons, playing in that Big Ten, what sold me as well is that Notre Dame game. Guy played with one arm. He could have sat out and been like, you know what?
That's right. He played pretty well.
That sold me.
He dominated with one arm. I agree.
That showed a lot to me. Yep.
Trust me. His first year as a pass rusher, he had 11.5 sacks. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And he's versatile. You could play him on the inside too. You can use him in a lot of different. You could really.
What does that sound like? It sounds like Micah Parsons.
I was just going to say you could use him just for Micah Parsons, which is great. So I get it. It's hard for me to pass on the more I talk about it, right? But
pick your flavor. Pick your flavor.
Yeah, it's really really what it is. And again, it's because we're used to it's defensive guys. We grew up in the defensive generation.
That's true. Yeah.
I do think our offense has to take the next step at some point. Like we really have to be, right? Like I don't know that we can always be considered our identity is the defense. I think we need both, if that makes sense. Like we need to. I think our defense is better than what people think, and we'll see next year what happens. But again, we have a pass rush. We have trenches. The Giants were leading the league in sacks. Up until all the injuries. Yeah. I think.
But Sean, when you look at that fourth quarter, inside 4 minutes, inside 2 minutes, where guys got to rotate and be on the field and fresh, those are the games that you hope with that type of rotation with guys coming in and out and getting a breather where they're not tapped out and they could hold off and win the game and not cave in because they're exhausted and been going 100 snaps. But to your point, I think that could be the offense is next to be maybe an identity at some point. But it's just I think that Wilson and Winston signing kind of says to me that they're going to put that off for a while.
I mean, they could. Like I said, I think it's more of let me kind of back up. So I think if you improve the offense, then that defense is going to be less tired later on that you were just talking about there. So it's a good point. Yeah. But we haven't had an offense that can keep our defense rested. So that's a lot to do with it, in my opinion, right? So if you can upgrade this offense, then that defense is going to be that much better as well. They're going to be well rested with
and I know it's a big if, but if the offensive line could stay healthy, it's not good. It's not bad at all. It's above average. And now you're getting Theo Johnson involved. You're getting Bellinger.
They got to get younger, Chris. They got to get younger.
Yeah, but you're getting these tight ends involved now. So that's a big part of this. Where
I agree. You got some guys you can develop. Yeah, you got some guys you can develop that are there that I think are, But here's the thing: they're not they're not extremely old. Like these guys, like Runyon and Illuminar, still play for a few years. Remember how old those other guys get, and we're still good. Do they need some depth? Yes, absolutely. But you got Kubis. Kubas, who's
Second
going to
year.
be a good one, kind of coming in again. If they move Neal to guard and he can take off, like you look at his run grade, like he agreed. Like I know I fought it for the longest time, but I really fought it because I'm like, all right, let's make sure he's not a tackle. Let's see what he does with a real good coach. Okay, so now if they're thinking moving the guard, and that's the best thing for him, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And you do have some, you do have some guys there. They did bring in some depth, on the line again. So they did upgrade from what their depth was last year, so that makes the line better. But agreed, like it was really just those two games. It was really, and the one game where you had Hubbard and Azudu at tackle, and that was really the only games. Once they made that switch, the line was not bad the rest of the year. I think it's a tired story of people complaining about the O line. Like it's really not as bad. Now, I'm not saying not to draft O line or add some more guys, but if you're gonna get, here's my feeling, and you guys can comment on this, is that my feeling is this: you have to have both. You have to have free agents and you have to have the draft. You can't build one way with just one way. Like it can't just be, hey, we got to build through the draft, and you're ignoring free agents. Like, no. So if you can get better O-line in free agency, then go do that. As long as the line is good, I don't care where you get them from. And then if you got to, get it after that, so be it. And then let some young guys take a few years to develop. That's not a problem. So I don't have a problem with that. Just you can't be too one-sided. That's my feeling is you have to have both. You have to have free agency and you have to have draft. That's the best way to build a team. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Do you like that free agency comes before the draft? Would you rather see it the other way around?
I mean, listen, I don't have a problem with it. I think it makes sense because then you're not, you know what you can do in the draft. I like free agency ahead of time. I know people make a big stink. They think it should be the other way around, but I like it because then you add what you add, you knew what you do, and then you're set up there. So now if they change it, so be it. But I like the way it is. You go out to get you guys you need to get, and then you're able to do whatever you want to do in the draft. You don't have to draft need all the time, which I think if you do it the other way, you start drafting for need, and that changes things, right?
I mean, yeah, the draft should be used to fill spots. That's really what it should be used. I can see both parts, but getting back to Evan Neal, it reminds me of DJ Fluker, right? Number 1 pick out of Alabama, didn't work out at tackle, had a pretty lengthy career at guard. We even saw him with the Giants play decent at guard, big build. So, if Neal can switch over like we were hoping and get a year guard under his belt, because they're probably not going to pick up the option, right? They have till May 1st. So that'll be the next thing with Thibodeau and Neal. I can't see that happening. It would have been nice for him to play guard last year because if he would have played lights out, then you might think about picking up that.
Yeah, a whole full season, you know what you got.
Yeah, now you're going on hope. I don't know if they're going to do that for $15 million or whatever it might be.
I agree. And again, I think who they added in the offseason was in the free agency was really good. I think the coaching changes they made in the offseason were really good. It's a tougher schedule. I get it. So I'm not going to say, how many they'll win or anything like that, but they have improved this team on paper and considerably, adding a Debo, right? Who also has that connection with Bobby O, adding Javon Holland on that back end. That's going to help with communication like McFadden talked about, right? Who also played with Tib. I think Holland is going to have an impact on Thibodeau. I really do. That's a guy who's going to challenge him. He knows what he's capable of. I think he's going to push him. So I think that's good there. I do think the D line they added in the offseason, Colston and who was it? Was it Ledbetter or whoever from Jacksonville? I think that's a guy that is a good rotational piece, good depth there. The guy Seattle, another guy that's a good depth rotational piece. So they're now set up. If you get that stud D tackle in the draft, you're in a good position. If you can find another edge, I do think they need another edge because obviously, with Aziz not there, and I think there's some good edge guys you can get later on.
You mean aside from Carter? Let's just say they draft Carter. You mean aside from him? Get another edge?
Yeah, aside from Carter, right.
Oh, okay.
So yes, so I think that's there, and maybe a DB somewhere in there too, but it'll be interesting. So I know we're kind of got to kind of wrap it up here, but like chat was going pretty good. Like nobody's complaining, nobody's saying anything bad.
Not yet.
Yeah, Cold is on top of things too. I mean,
Chris made a good point. Chris, one of our viewers.
Peace.
Interesting point. It's way on top. He says the quarterback is almost never BPA.
He's not. He's separate.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way. I never thought about it, but that's a good point.
More of a need than anything, right?
Yeah,
it is. It is. So that's why you can ignore BPA if you need a quarterback, and the quarterback is you believe the quarterback's going to be good, right? So
Mhm.
go ahead.
I
Chris.
was going to say it's going to be an exciting week with the draft. You're going to have the unsigned free agents coming on Sunday and Monday, and
Yeah,
then
I
the
can't wait for
Giants.
that.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
and then, the guys that slip through the cracks, right? There's always a few that make the roster, and then we're looking at Giants making some cuts, right? They're right under 2 million. They got to get to 8, or excuse me, they need 8 more or so, get to 10 million for draft. Next week or next couple of weeks, I anticipate either some restructures or some cuts, and keep an eye on Gano, who's I think getting 7 million, and I believe
$4
Roaches
million.
is.
Cap savings, right?
Yeah, and Roaches, I'm surprised he hasn't been released, but maybe they want to make sure they fill in a spot before they release him as well. So,
With the draft, yeah,
with the draft. So
I'm sure.
it's going to be some interesting things happening next couple of weeks.
And I'll be with you, Shawnee, on the day 2 of the draft. So
Yep, I was going to get that in just a minute, but I'm going to put both of you on the spot. So I'm going to ask you not what you want, okay, the Giants to do, but I want you guys to predict who you think the Giants are going to take at 3. And again, not who you want, not who but who you think the Giants will draft at 3. So take your preferences out of it, right?
okay.
Just who do you think? Money on the line right here. Truth, I'll ask you first. Who the Giants taking at 3? Again, not who you want, but who the Giants taking at 3?
I think whoever Cleveland doesn't take it to, that's who the Giants are going to take it 3. So it's going to either be Hunter or Carter.
That's who you think. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I wanted Abdul Carter, and similar to what Mike's just said, I think the Browns do go Hunter, which then would I'll say force, but then would force the hand of the Giants to then take Carter.
Yeah. So there's just something in my gut that says the Giants are going to go Shedeur at 3.
Okay.
That
And it could happen. It could happen. You're right.
Something in my gut there.
Wouldn't
Now
surprise
again,
me. Yep.
yeah, there's just something about it, the way they acted around him. Like if you guys remember on Hard Knocks, we saw how Dable acted around Malik Neighbors, right? They showed how he was. He's showing that same energy around Shedeur. That's my feeling. That my gut feeling is. Now again, things could change if Hunter is there at 3. But my gut is my gut is saying they go. Again, I'm not saying 100% correct, but if you ask me what my gut, there's just something in my gut that says Shedeur is the pick at 3.
Okay. So you're thinking if it's Hunter or Carter, a Hunter or Shedeur, the Giants might take Hunter. But if it's Hunter,
and then try to trade to get Sanders.
I got you. Okay.
I think so.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's my gut. But like I said, I'm going to say this out there. Whoever they get at 3, if it's one of those 3 guys at 3, I'm going to be extremely ecstatic because we're getting a very, very good player at 3. There's no doubt in my mind. If it's one of those 3 guys, we're in really good shape. Really good shape.
By the way, guys, we didn't mention this, but the reports are out. If the Giants do pass on Carter at 3, there's a talk about the Eagles trading down.
Don't say it. Don't say it. There's a reason
thing.
why it wasn't brought up. Jesus, Truth. Did you not learn from Spartan? Like what?
What happened? What did I
last
do?
year was that
How fitting. How
my
fitting.
God.
How
Yeah,
fitting.
no, we're not. No, and we're not ending the show on that note either. Truth. What in the hell, dude? You got to stop talking to Spartan so much because you two with this the birds. No. Sorry.
What are you talking about? I didn't hear this was Spartan. What do you mean?
Mute him, Chris. Mute him.
Yeah, Zach's gone.
We are not bringing up any scenario that involves the birds. No.
Okay.
Sean, could I give you one scenario, and Mike too? But I know because you're a big Dion guy, and Dion's kind of removed from this. Would it shock you if the Cowboys at 12 made a trade with the Saints to move up to 8 if Sanders is there?
No, it wouldn't shock me at all because that's a Jerry move. It would not shock me. But
would Jerry's son stop him?
Shock me.
Would Jerry's son stop him from doing it?
No,
Steven,
I don't think so. And listen, we know how much that Jerry loved Dion. Like, still loves that dude.
Yeah, he does. It's like a son to him.
It would not surprise me. I don't. Yeah, it would not surprise me at all.
That's right, Cole. The Saints are at 9. You're right, and the Cowboys are at 12. So not to move up 3 spots. Interesting.
Chris, I love your imagination. That's good.
That's what it is. That's why I'm using it. All about the imagination.
So
it's all useless.
Yeah, no, good.
It could happen.
Anything's possible. All I know is I'm ready. We're a few days away. So I'm ready. I'm not paying attention to a lot of stuff on Twitter these next couple of days. I don't care. I really don't care what anybody says or anybody puts out there because it's all BS at this point. It's all smoke.
Phil,
All of it right now.
I think all three of us agree one thing: the Giants will not trade back from 3.
No, that would bother me. I think if they traded back now, maybe. What if they trade back to draft Shador? Ooh, boy, that would be weird. But yeah, anyway, I don't see that happening. But so on that note, before Truth brings up something else again, bad. Reminder, guys, Thursday, night 1, Craig, Chris, and who else is on that one with you, Chris?
Me.
You're on day 1, right?
You're on day 1 too, as well.
Yeah.
Truth? Okay. All right. So yeah, 7 p.m. right? Kickoff.
7 p.m.
6. I thought it was 6. He said.
Is it 6? All right.
6 o'clock.
All right. 6. Oh, that's right, because it starts earlier.
Yeah.
So yes, that should be fun. Tune in to see anybody's reaction with the number 3 pick. I'm sure Craig will have a great reaction, especially if Shador at 3. Craig will lose his mind.
Hey, listen, if it's Sanders showing, you got to come on. You're coming right on, man. You got to come on.
Craig won't allow me to come on. He won't.
I'll push it through.
He's got me and Chris.
No, you're coming on, Sean. If it's
the
Sanders.
2 guys with the reason. You and me and Chris.
Oh,
right?
with the reason. With the reason. Oh, okay. and then Friday we're on day 2. It's me, Spartan, and then Truth. Are you coming on Friday too? Or no, Alex?
Yeah, Spartan can't come on. That's why I'm coming on.
So you got both nights. Look at you.
Yeah. What time is Friday? 6?
I don't know. I gotta look. I thought it was 7, but what do I know?
I'll tell you guys right now.
We'll double check.
No, I'll tell you guys. I'll
right.
And I'm sure they're going to post it. Let's see. That will be.
I just posted something, so I got to look again. Cold, you're not boycotting. You're going to come on night 2, my man. You're coming on night 2, Cold. And anybody else that's on here is.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet
6
some
o'clock.
of these guys.
6 o'clock Friday.
6 o'clock on Friday.
Long
All
as
right.
Yep. It's 8 live draft show. 6 to 10. 8 hours. 2
I don't
days.
know if it'll be 10. It's the 10. You think the 99th pick will be done before that?
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna make it till 10. I don't think we made it last year either. So no, I don't think.
Hey, poor Chris, man. The first time on our show.
I got to be with Craig for all those hours. It's gonna be nuts.
Hey, you guys might get lucky. You might have 2 picks in the first round.
Well, that's what happened with, I forget, was it Tibbs and Neil? We were on a lot longer. That made it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there could be a trade. You got a lot of things going on. You can comment on there. So
absolutely.
Who knows what could happen there? So
that's right.
Well, listen, we all right, Zach, get us back. There we go. Get the talent back on the screen. Hey, so listen, appreciate everybody that was in the room tonight. Peace, Mark, Cold, Zach was in here, Frank the Tank. I know there's other guys, so we appreciate all you guys being on. We appreciate all you guys that were watching before. So come out Thursday, come out Friday. Chris, Truth, great show, man. You guys were awesome.
Good job hosting, man.
Enjoyed it. Yep. So we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys later.
Hey, Malik, what's the name of that book?
Just give me the damn ball.